Huge shark breaks into cage with divers. In October of 2016, footage of an incident with a diver and a shark took place near Guadalupe Island off the west coast of Mexico. At the beginning of the video, people on the boat are seen baiting a fairly big shark, which turns aggressive as it naturally would. Sharks are known to go into what's called a feeding frenzy when they start eating. In fact, this feeding frenzy is so aggressive that the sharks go blind and are unable to see what they are attacking. The reason for baiting the sharks around the cages is so that the divers inside with cameras can get good footage of the creatures. Well, the diver in this instance probably got more than he bargained for when the shark decided that it wanted to get inside of the cage with him. At the beginning of the video, you can see the shark going after the bait very aggressively. Everything looks fine, except for when the shark runs into the side of the cage where it begins thrashing viciously. Since these cages are made out of metal, no one on the boat probably thought that the guy inside was in any danger. That was until it appeared that the shark actually went through the side of the cage. In the video, the cage starts to move violently around with the shark inside of it. The operator of the boat, or the tour guide, clearly distressed, runs towards the cage to try to open the top of the cage door. It's clear at this point that the shark is actually inside of the cage and trying to escape. The people on the boat realize that there's a diver who's inside of this cage with the shark. The shark suddenly appears at the top of the cage as it's trying to escape with blood coming from its gills, possibly from damage from entering the side of the cage just moments before. The shark finally jumps out of the cage and the people are left wondering where the diver is. Everyone's probably standing around in horror when one of the people asks, "Is there anyone in there?" It goes without saying that everyone was probably standing around in shock, wondering if the diver was safe at this point. The tour guide or boat operator starts to panic when everyone realizes that there is no one in the cage. Surprisingly, and just a few moments later, the diver surfaces to the top of the cage with his camera, signaling with his right hand that he's okay. With probable sighs of relief, everyone on the boat starts to clap and cheer. Amazingly enough, the diver was completely unscathed by the event, except for probably a little emotional trauma. Monster shark in South Australia. Australia is known for having a lot of different dangerous creatures, and when it comes to great white sharks, you can be sure that you'll find them there as well. In January of 2018, a father and son team who were out fishing had a close encounter with a giant great white. The massive great white was filmed circling the boat off the coast of Semaphore, South Australia. The person who filmed the footage, Matt Robertson, claimed that the great white had to be at least 6 meters long, which was bigger than the boat that they were fishing from. The footage then continues to show the great white circling the boat. The giant great white shark disappears from view, and then they realize that suddenly it's underneath the boat as it grabs onto the nets. Of course, this isn't the only time that great white sharks have been stalking boats in the same area. A week before this happened, a 5-meter-long great white shark was caught on video by a nervous family after it began circling their fishing boat. Fortunately, as no one ended up going in the water, everyone was safe. Scuba diver attacked by a shark. Sharks are probably the biggest thing that scuba divers have to worry about when they're diving or fishing. And when it comes to sharks, the great white is probably the most dangerous next to the bull shark. That is because this shark simply has more aggressive behavior than the other sharks and will attack just about anything it sees as being food. The other thing that makes this shark so dangerous is the fact that it can survive in any kind of water, salt or fresh, and with that said, it can be found in just about any body of water. Everywhere you wouldn't expect to find one of these sharks. Check your tub. A bull shark also has a really strong bite and is one of the top 3 sharks likely to attack a human, with the great white and the tiger shark being the other 2. This shark has a fitting nickname, the pit bull of the sea, and in just a second you'll see why. A diver decided he would do a little spear fishing in Australia off the North Queensland coast, but this time the hunter would turn out to be the hunted. In the video, the diver goes in for a deep dive and gets about halfway down when he spots a shark on the edge of the channel deep in the water. The diver said the shark didn't worry him, but then the shark sees the diver and turns and starts swimming towards the diver at full charge. The diver thinks that the shark won't attack him and was just gonna poke him with the spear gun a little to show he's not food, but the shark doesn't care and viciously bites the end of the spear gun. The diver lunged forward with the gun a little bit, but it appears the gun goes off and impales the shark. The diver couldn't tell if the shark was incapacitated at this point and let go of the gun to get out of the water. It did appear as though the bull shark was in trouble, with the spear gun stuck to the inside of its mouth as it was writhing around, and the shark began sinking. However, the diver decided to keep swimming away and thought that the shark would spit out the spear gun, not knowing at the time the shark was impaled. Oxygen tank failure. The seas and oceans are treacherous places, and divers need good equipment as their lives depend on it. If that equipment fails and you're on your own, your chances of survival are suddenly cut in half. This is the story of two friends, Nick Burke and Matt Henderson, who are out on a 30-minute fishing dive off the coast of Hillary's Boat Harbor in Perth, Western Australia. The two friends were about to finish up the dive when they realized they were in deep trouble, literally. At 100 feet underwater, Matt's gear suddenly failed, and he had lost his oxygen mask from an oxygen tank that had failed. It might not seem like 100 feet underwater is very much, but when you watch the video, you realize just how deep the two are. Matt suddenly swam towards Nick and then very quickly ripped off his mask, which obviously indicated trouble with the equipment. Nick's instincts took over, and at that moment he pulled out his spare oxygen regulator. But the most dangerous part of the ordeal was not yet over. If you're a diver and you're far below the surface of the water, you have to make your way back to the surface slowly, or you can suffer what's called the bends, which actually can be fatal. This rapid ascent can cause a formation of gas bubbles, mostly nitrogen, in the blood. It can affect any area of the body, including the lungs, the heart, and the brain, and can be potentially deadly. In the scary footage, the two are seen moving to the surface, and at one point it looks as though Matt has lost consciousness. And for the record, Matt is an Army veteran and had 8 years of diving experience at the time of the accident. When his mask stopped working and he started taking in water, he said that he had started to black out and thought he was gonna die. The two divers were rushed to the hospital and ended up spending 5 hours in the emergency room. But they survived one of the scariest diving moments caught on film. The Megalodon that ate a great white shark. Back in 2014, Australian researchers started hunting for what they called the mystery sea monster that apparently ate a 9-foot-long great white shark. This great white shark had a tracking device that was put on it in order to track its behavior and find out where the shark swam and where it fed. It turns out, instead of finding out what the great white shark was eating, something else decided to eat the great white shark. The tracking device that was planted on the shark was found washed up on the beach. After doing an analysis on the tracking device, data showed that it had suddenly undergone a rapid increase in temperature and that it took a swift 500-meter dive beneath the ocean. Of course, the scientists attributed the 30-degree spike in temperature from the shark actually entering another animal's stomach, or digestive system, if you will. The unexpected and swift descent of the tracking device could be explained by the larger animal's rapid descent beneath the waves. The scientist ended up finding the tracking device, and only the tracking device, about 2.5 miles from where the shark was originally tagged. When the data first came back from the tag, researchers were absolutely blown away by what they were seeing. Of course, the big question was, what could have done this? It was obvious that the animal was eaten, but we're talking about a 9-foot or 3-meter great white shark that weighed well over 1,500 pounds. When you think about what could possibly eat a 9-foot great white shark, the only thing that comes to mind is a much bigger shark. It was estimated that a shark would have to weigh at least 2 tons in order to eat the smaller 9-foot shark. This countable and colossus great white shark is likely living somewhere in the depths of the ocean. And who's to say it couldn't be the legendary Megalodon? These creatures were huge and probably lived in the deeper parts of the ocean. Could it be that they still exist and are hiding in places such as the Marianas Trench? Perhaps in due time we'll find out if this creature still exists once we're able to explore more of the oceans.